Fellas, I'm going to be predicting which fighters will retire from MMA in 2024. Now, we've had some big retirements this year. We had Robbie Lawler, Korean Zombie, Glover Teixeira. The Glover Teixeira one was bad because of the Brazilians. But anyway, I'm going to be predicting fighters that I think will retire in 2024. This is going to be based on different things. Some of them it might be because they're on a losing streak. Others it might just because they're simply just getting really old and I think they're going to retire. And this isn't going to be my opinion of who should retire. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of it, but most of it is going to be a prediction, not just my personal emotion towards the fighters and how I think their career should go. Let me know if you agree with the list or if you have any fighters that you think are going to retire. But the first fighter I have, it's kind of a no-brainer. I just want to get him out of the way. Jon Jones. Now, I'm almost certain he's going to retire after the Stipe fight. It's going to happen in, I don't know, May, June, probably early 2024. Well, I say early, probably just before summer in 2024. And he's going to retire. And I don't blame him, to be honest. I don't think he should have to prove himself against these young, hungry contenders like Aspinall. But I reckon he'll go out there, have a fight against Stipe, as UFC are kind of calling it the legacy fight, and he's going to retire. And that'll be the end of Jones. Now, there's a small chance that Jones is going to get some balls and he's going to fight Aspinall, or he's going to fight, most likely going to be Aspinall because of the interim belt, and he'll fight Aspinall. And if that fight does happen, not that I think it is going to happen, but if that fight was to happen, it's most likely going to take place in 2024 as well, which is going to be late 2024, probably December, November time if he fights Aspinall. And regardless of the result, I reckon he's going to retire. I just don't see a world where he fights in 2025. The only way I can see this happening is if he does decide to fight a guy like Aspinall, but then he just waits ages and he's inactive and he decides to wait till 2025. But he fought in 2023 against Garn. Most likely what's going to happen is he's going to fight Stipe and retire. No-brainer. Pretty obvious to see. And even if Stipe beats him, right? Even if somehow Stipe is going to beat him, all he's going to do is rematch Stipe immediately in 2024 as well. It's not going to be a shock. I'm going to say Jon Jones for 2024. Pretty obvious. Next fighter, Tony Ferguson. I've gone past the stage of getting excited for Ferguson fights now. And I know I didn't want to talk about my emotions towards the fighter too much, but it's gone past the stage of, oh, I can't wait to see Ferguson wins this fight. You know, he's only on a 4-fight losing streak. Oh, now he's on a 5-fight losing streak. Maybe he's going to win this fight. He's on a 7-fight losing streak. He just got dominated by Paddy Pimblett. The UFC have got to step in at some point. Most fighters get cut after 5 or 6 fights. He's on a 7-fight losing streak. And if he loses more, you know, maybe he loses an 8th fight or a 9th fight, it's got to get to the point where you cut him. And I understand cutting him doesn't necessarily mean he's going to retire, but I think it's the smart thing to do if he gets cut. There's not much else for him. What, you're going to go to PFL and get beaten off there? You're going to go to BKFC and die? What else is there for Ferguson? And if he somehow wins, if in UFC, I don't know who he's going to fight. Maybe in 2024, he'll fight another veteran and win. And if he does manage to get a win, I still think he should retire on a win. You should capitalise on it. Listen, I've won a 7-fight losing streak. I've just won a fight after ages. I'm going to retire and capitalise on it. That would be the smart decision. And if Tony Ferguson's got good people around him, that should have been the choice. To be completely honest with you, he should have retired in 2022. That should have been the choice. After the Chandler KO, or at least at a minimum after he got beaten by Diaz in an embarrassing fight, he should have retired. I don't want him to keep fighting, keep taking damage. I'm genuinely concerned for him now. In a couple of years, he's going to have the craziest CT ever. He's going to be the next Tito Ortiz. But Ferguson, just retire, and I think he will if he's got smart people around him. And if the UFC aren't going to try and kill him, they'll retire him in 2024 after 1 or 2 more fights, because he is pretty active, you've got to be honest. But yeah, I reckon we'll see the end of Ferguson in 2024, and he will have his last fight. Next fighter, Andrei Arlovski. Yeah, now, he isn't necessarily washed like Ferguson. Andrei Arlovski, you know, he's still managing to pick up wins here and there. I mean, he is on a 2-fight losing streak, both by finish. The only reason I think he's going to retire is because he's going to realise that there's nothing left for you to prove. I think out of everyone in the UFC, Arlovski's been in the longest. It's either him or RDA. I'm 90% sure it's Arlovski, though. So he's been in for so long. He's getting up there in age. And I think if he loses his next fight, which is a possibility, because his opponent, I'm pretty sure, is coming off a knockout win. And I think it's in January, I think it's pretty close. But I reckon he'll realise that he's got not long left. He's 44 years old. He's already been finished twice in a row now. And if he gets finished again, or even if he loses again, he's going to retire. There's nothing left for you to prove. You're in a dangerous division. You've had this long career. I reckon Arlovski's going to call it a day in 2024. There's not much people talking about him anymore as well. I feel like a lot of people still don't realize this guy's still in the UFC. People think most people think he's retired after the Aspinall fight, but no, he's still in. He's not doing terribly, but it'll get to the point where he'll realize he's got I can't speak today. What's going on? I say this every video, but he's not got none. Oh, fuck it. He's gonna retire. I can't speak. He's gonna retire. Next fighter, Usman. Yeah, this one's a bit of a bold take because a lot of people think why Usman is still, a highly ranked welterweight. He's only lost to 2 guys recently, which is Leon and Hamzat. I reckon we're going to see the end of Leon though. First reason is that he's got terrible knees and his physicality is getting worse. He's getting older in age. He's out of his prime. He's nowhere near prime Usman anymore. Obviously, he can't even run. He's got terrible knees. I already just said that. His physicality is going to catch up to him. Father Time's going to catch up to him, and he's just going to realise that he's not as good as he once was. Second reason is I feel like he's going to realise that he's on a 3-fight losing streak, right? He's been finished by Leon Edwards, lost a decision to Leon Edwards, and now he's lost again to Hamzat. I know he called out Hamzat again on, I think it was Instagram, and I don't think he's going to retire, and I don't think he should retire just yet. He's still got 1 or 2 big fights left for him. Maybe it's a rematch against Hamzat, which I'm not entirely against. Maybe it's a fight against, I don't know, another contender in the middleweight or welterweight division, whichever division he decides to stay at. But I think he'll retire late 2024. Because you've got to remember, Usman was hinting at retirement in 2021. When he was fighting Colby, when he was rematching Colby, he was hinting towards retirement, saying things like, I've not got long left. I'm fighting Colby. I'm clearing out the division. Why am I still here? And I feel like it's got to the point where you've cleared out the division, you've cemented your legacy in the welterweight division as one of the greats. You don't need to prove anything. And I think he does deep down realise that. And I reckon 2024 will be the day, or be the year, where we see Usman fight for the final time. So I'm going to say Usman. I don't think it's a no-brainer, but I reckon we will see Usman retire this year, just due to multiple factors that are going on in his career. He'll have 1 or 2 more fun fights, and then it'll be a day. I don't think he'll touch 2025. Next fighter, Jim Miller. Yeah. Now, Jim Miller's actually doing really well. To say that this guy's 40 in the lightweight division, which, most fighters, when they approach 40, that's when they start retiring, getting concerned. But Jim Miller, he's been starching his opponents recently. He's been doing really well. So I don't think we can just sit here and say that, Jim Miller's doing terribly in the UFC. But the reason I think Jim Miller's going to retire, and I don't necessarily think this should happen, but I think he will. I think what he's going to do, he's got a fight booked in January. Win or loss, UFC are going to put him on 300. As long as he's not, injured, they're going to put him on 300. He fought on 100, 200. It makes sense to put him on 300. I don't know who against. I think they might actually be planning to put him versus Paddy on 300, because I saw the interview that Dana did on TNT Sports, and he hinted towards a Pimlet versus Jim Miller at 300. But no, I think if we see Jim Miller at UFC 300 and he wins on a massive, massive card like 300, that would be the perfect retirement. You're on a bit of a winning streak. You put some wins together. If this guy gets a win on 300, retire there and then. You don't want to wait off your career. You're a 40-year-old. You don't want to end up one of these fighters who has a great win at UFC 300, then just sticks around too long to the point where, you end up getting a bit of a losing streak going on. I think if he's smart, he should capitalise on 300, retire on it, and that's it for him. He should retire from the sport as a proud man, and that'll be the end of Jim Miller. And I think that's what he should do, and I think that's what he will do. Next fighter. Now, the next fighter, this is a really bold take, and I'm not talking about the fact he's got no hair. I think it's a really, really bold take, and people are going to disagree with this in the comments, but I'm going Volkanovski. Now, the one reason that kind of pushes me away from thinking that Volkanovski's going to retire is the fact that he's so obsessed with fighting. We saw after the Islam fight in the post-fight interview how he was there, saying that he wants to stay active. He wants to fight as much as he can. He might even get depressed when he's not in fight camp. But he's getting to the stage where there's not really much options left for him. I don't think lightweight's an option anymore. You've lost to Islam twice. He knocked you out once. There's too many contenders at lightweight. They have different plans. I think his lightweight run, or his attempt at a lightweight run, is over, which leaves him left for featherweights. Now, the only featherweights I think that makes sense for him anymore is the winner of Evloev and Allen. Obviously, there's Ilia Topuria, which is still a difficult fight. And even if he loses to Topuria, there's a small chance he retires. But even if he beats Topuria, the only other option for him then is the winner of Allen and Evloev. Unless the UFC want to be really, really, kind of strict, and they want to do, well, not strict, but, they want to give it a stretch, and they want to do the winner of Sterling and Qatar versus Volkanovski, which I guess could be an option, but If Volkanovski beats Topuria and then he beats the winner of Allen and Evloev, listen, you're getting, I know I've said this about every fighter, but you're getting pretty old. Just retire at that point. Just retire. You might retire the greatest featherweight of all time after those wins. You can cement yourself as the greatest featherweight of all time. You don't need to be sticking around for these young, hungry contenders too long. I reckon we might see Volkanovski retire in 2024 and have his final fight. And I genuinely think that's what he's going to do. I really do. It's a bold take, but I feel like he's not got much to prove. He's already pretty much dominated the featherweight division from Max to Korean Zombie to Brian Ortega to Yair Rodriguez. And if he beats Topuria and maybe even an Evloev, what else is there for him to do? Nothing. So I reckon we might see him retire. But that is my list of fighters who will retire in 2024. Let me know your own list. Do you agree with these? Are some of these terrible takes? Let me know. But thank you for watching.